This is Ken Williams with BGA Insurance. Today's video is addressing the most common and loudest IUL objection. What about the fees? Over the last 15 plus years, I've helped agents close tens of millions of dollars in IUL premium. And I could spend hours educating you on this topic, as trust me, I've heard and addressed every IUL objection out there. The one that I hear the most and the loudest is, what about the fees? Listen, I completely understand this objection. We've all heard Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, factory trained Primerica reps with their buy term and invest the rest spiel. Even if you're one of their most ardent supporters, there's no way after this presentation that you won't at least reconsider and or be fully prepared to adequately address this most common and loud objection. What about the fees? Okay, let's dive in. Again, I completely understand and respect the what about the fees objection, especially prior to January 1st, 2021. This, however, was a monumental day in our industry that I don't believe gets the consideration it deserved. So what happened? On January 1st, 2021, the IRS amended Section 7702 of the tax code. So what is Section 7702? In a nutshell, Section 7702 defines what qualifies as a life insurance contract for tax purposes. It provides the definition of life insurance and sets limits on premium payments and cash value accumulation to ensure the tax favored treatment. In a nutshell, Section 7702 was modified or amended for the first time in decades as part of the Appropriations Act. We were in a sustained low interest rate environment, and they adjusted the guideline corridor / MEC limits. The easiest way for me to explain is this completely made up hypothetical. Before the Section 7702 amendments, let's assume a $6,000 premium. The minimum non-MEC death benefit prior was $500,000. Then after the amendments, that minimum non-MEC death benefit on that same $6,000 premium is now $300,000. Lower minimum non-MEC death benefits means lower fees up front for the consumer on cash accumulation designs. So let's dive into some examples. I've found with about any objection I hear regarding IUL, the first response should always be in comparison to what and under what assumptions. In my opinion, the most important and often used comparison when considering IUL for accumulation, retirement income is, of course, to a professionally managed brokerage account. Here's an example of a 45-year-old male paying $20,000 a year for 20 years. I, of course, made up some hypothetical performance assumptions that I truly believe at a minimum are fair and reasonable. And if I'm being honest, I think border on aggressive, because I don't want your clients or any money managers out there to think I was being biased towards IUL with these assumptions. For this case study, I put together a hypothetical portfolio of returns that assumes 10.16 during the accumulation / working years and 7.7% at retirement. Notice on $400,000 of cumulative contributions that by age 100, this portfolio would have grown to $6.3 million. That is really good. But here's what is absolutely mind-boggling about this analysis. Look at the right-hand column, which is the cumulative management fees. By age 100, this client will have paid over $1 million in management fees. Think about that, $1 million in fees. We've all seen the commercials. We do better when our clients do better. I'd say so. There's never been a marketing line that has rang more true. So we know IUL has fees, loads, and charges. So what about their fees in comparison? And I hope the fees are close, or this will be a very short presentation. Here is a professionally designed IUL on the same client, paying the same $400,000 in cumulative contributions. Here are the annual policy charges on the right-hand side with the cumulative charges as well on this column. Let me scroll down a little bit. The cumulative charges in this properly designed IUL are $251,000. So let that sink in for a minute. The objection I hear the loudest and the most, what about the fees? The costs are too high, etc. And I apologize if I'm being or sounding too dramatic, but the cumulative fees in the managed account were $1 million. The cumulative fees in this properly designed IUL are $251,000, or roughly 25 basis points in comparison. This alone should adequately address any objection related to the fees, costs, etc. of an IUL. But let's go a little deeper. This time we're back to the managed account. We have to be objective, fair, and reasonable in our analysis. Part of that analysis should consider real-life hypothetical situations, which, of course, these assets are funded for retirement income. So on this slide, I took out $50,000 a year all the way until age 100, where you can see the portfolio then runs out of money. So related to fees, as the portfolio loses value over time, the 1% asset management fee that is assessed is to a declining number. So of course, the cumulative fees come down in line with those reduced values. Again, this is the same client, same contributions, same interest assumptions during the contribution years and during retirement. Fair and reasonable assumptions. I did not assume any taxes or anything. Whether qualified or non-qualified, we know it's not if there are taxes, but when and how much. So all of that being said, the cumulative asset management fees are roughly $260,000 by age 100. So now let's go back to an IUL. Here again is the IUL. Same client, same funding, but in this IUL design, I assume 6% during the contribution years and 5.5% at retirement. I believe fair and reasonable. Notice with this design, my cumulative fees are roughly $240,000 at age 100. The managed account was $260,000. IUL is at $240,000. Notice I didn't even mention that you can distribute $64,000 of tax-free income per year compared to the $50,000 of taxable income within the hypothetical managed account. So are you as likely, less likely, more likely to earn 10.16 on average in the managed account and 7.77% at retirement, or 5.7% on average with an IUL? My crystal ball broke a long time ago, so I don't have the answer to that question. But let's, for argument's sake, assume the likelihood of each occurring is relatively close. If that's the case, the IUL has $64,000 of tax-free income with lower fees compared to the $50,000 of taxable income in the managed account. So let's take it one step further. Here we're going to stress test the IUL as part of my best efforts of providing fair and reasonable objective assumptions. This is again keeping everything the same, but I dropped the IUL performance down to 5.5% for all years. This brought my cumulative fees down to $223,000 and my tax-free income down to $58,000. Still much better than the managed account of $50,000 taxable, which again assumed over 10% during the contribution years and nearly 8% at retirement. So here is a quick summary. Notice the managed account in year 10 has much lower assumed cumulative fees than the IUL in comparison. The fees in the IULs are without question front-loaded in comparison to a managed account. It's the old adage, taxing the seed versus the harvest. But in our example, it's charging the seed compared to the harvest. Then notice by year 20, you can see it favors the IUL from a lower fee perspective. What's truly mind-blowing with this analysis is let's look at year 40. Remember, this is a male 45 today by age 85 or year 40. That is pretty much a generalized life expectancy. The cumulative fees in the managed account are $221,000, and those in the IUL are roughly $105,000 in comparison. So think about that for a second. I mean, truly let that sink in. The cumulative fees in a properly designed IUL are half of those in a managed account, or 50 basis points in comparison. Throw on top of that any conversations around the tax-free death benefits that would be paid in addition to all of the retirement income, and truly, it's case closed, in my opinion, related to any objection or conversation related to the fees within an IUL. In summary, I believe with objective, fair, and reasonable assumptions, with compliments to the amendments made to Section 7702, that we've addressed any of the objections related to the fees within an IUL. As mentioned prior, with any IUL objection, the first response should always be in comparison to what and under what assumptions. In our example, we compared to a professionally managed brokerage account and have shown that the cumulative fees, loads, and charges of a properly designed IUL are on average 65 to 90 basis points in comparison to the 1 to 1.25% of a managed account. So as always, I hope this content can help you close your first, your next, or your biggest IUL case. And if so, just ask that you provide me and our firm the opportunity to underwrite that case on your behalf. Again, thank you for your time. This is Ken Williams with BGA Insurance.